no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? I'm here on NFL Daily. David Irving, is he going to the Las Vegas Raiders? This news first came out that he was reinstated on Friday, and my DM started to just fill up, probably a lot more than what I wanted to do on Friday, but he was started to work out with the Raiders on Friday, okay? And the reason why this is being talked about is because obviously the Raiders have a major need at the defensive line. Luckily, Mo Hurst, he is finally back off the COVID list. And Irvin, he was really good with Rod Marinelli. And the fact that we haven't seen it, we know that he is a very talented player. And it makes all Raider fans very excited. He was also working out in Las Vegas for the past, it was like 15 months. But when you look at his last 13 games, yes, I picked out the last 13 because it makes the stats look better. 33 tackles, 13 tackles for a loss, 22 quarterback hits, and 11 sacks. Those are very productive numbers. And one of Irving's biggest problems was, well, he liked weed. That's okay in Vegas. It's legal, so you can go ahead and do it. Now, when you look at the defensive line depth chart, they've really been working in Cleveland Furlong in the middle because Malik Collins has not worked out whatsoever. Jonathan Hankins has been very solid in the run game. Max Crosby's been, well, their only productive player in terms of sacks. But I do want to give a major shout-out to Cleveland Furlong, who I'll say has been the best Raiders defensive line player, getting just 9 pressures, I believe, last week. Arden Key's going to have to take a bigger step up because also Carl Nassib, he's injured, and he's probably going to miss like 2 to 3 weeks with a broken toe. So you could see them potentially go out and find a player on that defensive line like a David Irving. So here are the sack leaders. I mean, this has been an issue for the Raiders for the last 3 seasons. 13 sacks in 2018. That was by far dead last. I mean, the team that was the second worst, they were 29th. Or they had 29 sacks. Nevin Lawson had 1. Chris Smith had 1, and what a great story Chris Smith is. Mo Hurst and Carl Nassib. I mean, y'all, come on. This is not very pretty. That's why Raider Nation is freaking out, and they continue to ask, and we're going to talk about it here. Should the Raiders go out and sign David Irving? I want you to give me a Y for yes. I want you to go ahead and give me an N for no. And if you stumble across this on the Raiders Report channel, hey, let me know. And if you haven't already subscribed to that channel, you see the link below, youtube.com/Raiders Report. We're also going to talk about the latest NFL news that, well, actually could impact the Raiders, because if you're potentially interested in David Irving, could you actually be interested in some other players? So Carlos Dunlap's the guy that I talked about on the Raiders Report last week, and he was demoted against the Ravens and was like, why am I only playing on third downs? And you can see that he's very frustrated. Plus, Dunlap has that relationship. He has that past history with Paul Guenther, Raiders defensive coordinator, who, if we're being honest, the rumors around firing Paul Guenther are never going to go away until he starts putting up or shutting up. And I think Carlos Dunlap would be a risk that you're going to see some reward behind as well. And sure, if you're going to go out and trade for him, you got to pay him his remaining contract. It's about $4.9 million for the rest of the season, which is a little bit of money for a guy over 30. But I don't want you to look at these 2020 stats because that doesn't tell the whole picture because he's not playing as often. Here's 2019. Yes, he's on the wrong side of 30, but he does know the Paul Guenther system, probably better than Paul Guenther does, honestly. I don't even know if he knows it, but he's been a player that has shown in that system and throughout his entire career to be very productive. I mean, these numbers are silly. 82.5 sacks, 24 fumbles, 103 tackles for a loss, and, 489 tackles. I mean, this is a player who you can put on a defensive line that has a lot of young players, and he can be that player coach. So Raiders, go out and get yourself a Carlos Dunlap, or maybe you're going to go out and get another guy in Cincinnati who's also upset. Geno Atkins. Atkins and Dunlap have been the cornerstones of that defensive line for, 10 years now at this point. And the fact that Zach Taylor isn't playing them, and his reasoning is, they've been given limited roles because it's best for the team. I'm sorry, Zach Taylor. Do you know more about football than Tom and I? Maybe. Maybe I'll just speak for myself. However, I don't see how you playing Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap in a limited role makes a lot of sense, especially only on third down. Now, I was going to show you his 2020 stats, but he's played in 2 games and has yet to get a single tackle. They're not using him correctly. Back in 2019, 10 QB hits. 4.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 47 tackles. And honestly, that was one of his worst seasons because when you're talking about a defensive tackle like Atkins, the numbers that he's been able to put up and the pressures that he's been able to produce is outstanding. So if you're an NFL team and you're sitting there, you're like, wow, I need to be active at the trade deadline. Maybe I could go out and get a player like Atkins, or maybe I could go out and get a player like Carlos Dunlap. I would really, really entertain that idea because, yes, both of these players are past their prime, but they can still help a team win now. And if you're a team like the Las Vegas Raiders who have no pressure and haven't had pressure the last 3 years and have seen how much pressure can do, hey, that's basically why you beat the Chiefs. You were able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. So I'm curious what you'll have to say in this one. Who's the better player, Carlos Dunlap? I want you to type CD. If you think it's Geno Atkins, I want you to type GA. Now, judging here by the live comments on NFL Daily, so yes, I also do NFL Daily shows, believe it or not, at Chat Sports. You can also watch us here Monday, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. We started a little bit earlier today because of the doubleheader Monday night games. So CD or GA, who's the better player? Now, for me, I would probably type CD for Dunlap because I think he'd be a bigger fit here for this team. You could also make the argument for Geno Atkins, sure, being a help on the defensive tackle position because of Malik Collins has been so bad. Luckily, Mo Hurst, he is finally back. Cleveland Furl has also done a very, very good job of switching in and out. But I started talking about David Irving, and there was no doubt in my mind that the Raiders have a major need at this line. And Rod Marinelli's connections, Paul Guenther's connections going on. I mean, if you have to think about it, who would you pick to sign? I mean, that's not just for the Raiders. This is for every NFL team out there. Would you go out and trade for a guy like Carlos Dunlap? Would you go out and trade for a guy like Geno Atkins? Or do you just sign David Irving? Now, obviously, Irving's got all the baggage, and you've seen Dunlap and Atkins play. So I'm curious what you all have to say here. Do you trade for Dunlap? It's going to cost about $4.9 million the rest of the season, type D. Geno Atkins, type A. Or do you play the cheaper role here and type I for David Irving? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you want to know what I have to say, you always can hit me up on Instagram or on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365.